Okie dokie, hello everyone. So we're going to be continuing reading Planet Omar, Accidental Trouble Magnet, moving on to chapters 9 and 10. So let's do this. Mum and Dad were so happy that I was getting on well at school that they said that I could invite Charlie over. They obviously didn't know the bit about me not actually getting on well at school 100%, because Daniel made most days 40% bad. Well, depending on how much he felt like a big huge grump that day, he sometimes made them 60% bad. I wondered why he was worse on some days, and I imagined him walking to school and slipping on rotten apples. If you've ever seen a rotten apple, you'll know that they're really sludgy and soft, and you can make you fall right down if you ever step on one, even more than a banana skin. So the more rotten apples he slipped on, the worse he felt, and the more mean he was. That could be it. There had to be something. Charlie was mega excited about coming over. I asked him if he wanted to have pizza, and he said yes, which is what I knew he would say, because every kid loves pizza, unless they're allergic to cheese, like my cousin Fazer, who does lots of farts and gets really bad tummy aches if she eats it. Charlie told me all about the flavours that he hates tasting in food, but luckily none of them are on pizza. Peanut, coconut, banana, cinnamon, coffee. Charlie was very polite to Mum and Dad when he came over. He said extra pleases and thank yous, and he smiled an extra lot. "I've been hearing so much about you, Charlie," said Mum. "Oh, thank you," said Charlie. "It's so nice to have you over, and you can come any time you want," said Dad. They were being so cheesy. I imagined them as blocks of cheese, the holy kind that they draw in cartoons, but which I've never actually tasted. Marianne decided to hang about near us and show off like she always does. The weird thing about it was that Charlie actually liked her. She even came with us to play football in the garden. She used to play football normally, but recently she started giggling a lot and celebrating without loud yays. It's super annoying. Charlie didn't seem to mind though. He laughed right along with her, the way he does with me, but not really with many other people in the class. All this laughing made Mrs. Rogers come into her garden to investigate. She must have been on her phone, because she was talking to the person called John again. "I can hear the Muslims. They're being noisy again, John." She said it very loudly. "I mean, really, why can't they play quietly like good children? I can't take this much ridiculous noise." We all looked at each other, suddenly silent. We couldn't see her properly over the fence, just the top of her white hair. And then we burst out laughing and ran inside to eat our pizza. Okay, chapter 10. At school, it was getting harder and harder to avoid Daniel Green. One lunchtime he came over and put a handful of sand all over my food. My stomach clenched and I got a lump in my throat. I didn't want to cry in front of him, but I was really hungry, and that sandwich from last night's leftover chicken was really tasty, and my mouth had been really looking forward to it. I quickly imagined H2O swooping down from the clouds to hover right behind Daniel. I made H2O pull a totally unimpressed face and blow steam all over Daniel's head, and Daniel had no clue. That's H2O swooping down. That made me laugh, and through my giggles I said loudly, "Thanks, Daniel, now I truly have a sandwich." A few people around us started laughing too. Sarah and Ellie, girls from our class, were sitting at the lunch table next to ours, and they were giggling like crazy. Daniel stood there, towering over me with his podgy fists closed tight. His face was redder than his t-shirt, and he was clenching his teeth together tightly. I pictured him as a Rottweiler dog, baring his sharp teeth ready for a fight. At this point, I realised that being smart with a bully wasn't very smart at all. Charlie must have realised this too, because he had been sensible enough not to laugh, and now he looked like a frightened little lamb. I quickly muttered the protection doer under my breath. Then there was a loud growling noise, and Daniel was launching his head towards my stomach. I don't know how, but I managed to throw myself onto the floor out of his way. It was all very fast. Daniel's head went into my empty chair, with his huge body following. The force sent the chair flying into the drills behind us, followed by a very big, very angry body that ended up on top of Sarah. I probably don't need to tell you that Daniel was in big, fat trouble. He spent 1 hour in Mr. Barnes' class as punishment. Now, Mr. Barnes has a moustache, a big one. It looks like it could come alive on his face, like a slithering sludge. By home time, Daniel was back. He still looked angry. As we queued up to leave the classroom, he stood behind me and breathed down my neck. Don't think I don't know the worst thing about you. You're Muslim. I saw your mum the other day, looking like a witch, in black. You better go back to your country before we kick you all out. I didn't say a word. I just gulped. How could anyone think my mum looked like a witch? If I'd been braver, I'd have told Daniel that he was stupid not to be able to tell the difference. So, got a little comparison chart here. Witches eat kids for dinner. Mum would never harm a kid. Witches, poisonous wart. Mum, wart, if present, is not poisonous. Witch has no hair under the wig. Mum has lots of hair under her scarf. Witches, scowl. Mum, smile. Witches, ugly due to horrid thoughts. Mum, beautiful due to lovely thoughts. On my way home, I couldn't stop thinking about what Daniel had said. Before they kick us all out. What? I thought about talking to Marianne about him. Maybe she could help and tell me what to do without having to tell my parents. I know they all get stressy and worried and make a big fuss at the school, and that would definitely just make Daniel worse. Marianne might be annoying, but she used to stand up for me back when I was a really little kid and we went to the same school. But then I remembered the time before we moved that I was quietly trying to get away with going over my screen time limit in my room, and Dad came stomping in like a giant who'd just stepped on an enormous drawing pin. I could practically see the steam coming out of his ears. He had discovered the TV remote was missing its batteries. I froze. I didn't move and didn't say a word. I imagined I was a spider playing dead when someone is trying to smack it with a slipper. Then Marianne came in with a huge pointy finger of accusation. He did it! It was true. I desperately needed them for my controller. I got in so much trouble that day, I was banned from video games for a month. Marianne is a complete snitch these days. No, I couldn't trust her. Okay, thank you everyone for listening to me read chapters 9 and 10 of Planet Omar, Accidental Trouble Magnet. That was a bit of a difficult chapter to read, but hopefully things will work out for Omar.